If you had an opportunity to create your perfect body by borrowing body parts from those long departed from this earth, would you take it? Have you ever wondered how it would feel to live life as the best version of you? This is a tale of a young girl who was unhappy with how the Almighty had created her and took drastic action. Prepare yourself, grab a cup of coffee or a glass of zobo, for this is a tale that will astound you. A long time ago, before whatever device you are using to watch this story was invented, lived a pretty young woman named Bola. Bola lived in a small, beautiful village called Makoko. She had everything a young woman could dream of: a loving family, a suitor that adored her, and good health. Bola's heart is heavy, for you see, even though other people thought Bola was pretty, she did not see beauty in herself. She did not like her slim build. She didn't like her dark skin. She hated her nose and detested her hair. Bola's mom knows her daughter is bothered by her appearance and tries to boost her self-esteem. Dear daughter, you are beautiful. Many would love to have your slim, dark beauty. But Bola would just wail and accuse her mother of lying. Her father called her beautiful constantly, but Bola didn't believe him. Fathers were supposed to say such things. Her suitor, Alade, showered her with affection, calling her the most beautiful princess in the world. Yet this only angered her, and she avoided him for days, convinced he was just trying to soothe her. One day, Alade visited Bola, hoping to lift her spirits. He asked her simple questions, but she replied with little interest. How was your night? Fine. Have you eaten? I'm not hungry. Did you see the rain last night? Yes. Frustrated, Alade finally asked, why are you so distant? Bola frowned deeply. Did you come here just to insult me, Alade? Of course not. I could never insult you, my little squirrel. I love you. Stop calling me that, Bola snapped. Alade, startled, replied, but I've always called you that, and you liked it. Not anymore, Bola retorted. Are you saying I look like a squirrel? Are you calling me ugly? Of course not. I never knew it offended you. I have always called you that. Well, it does. Is there anything else? She says, crossing her arms, a sulky look on her face. Alade was so shocked, he fell silent. Well, as there's nothing else, Bola said, please be going. I have errands to run. Bola's mother watched from a distance as Alade walked away looking hurt. What did you say to him? She asked. He seemed upset. Bola scoffed. He called me squirrel. Her mother smiled softly. But that's just his way of showing affection. Well, I find it insulting, Bola snapped. Besides, he's boring. All he talks about are herbs and potions, Bola said. Though Alade was an apprentice herbalist and passionate about his work, it wasn't true that it was all he ever spoke of. Be patient with him, her mother advised gently. Will you watch Simbo? She asks. I need to go to the market. Bola sighed deeply. She adored her little sister, but she longed for solitude. Please, take her with you. I'm not feeling well. Their conversation was suddenly interrupted by the sound of the royal trumpet. That's Doyin, Bola said in a panic. Tell her I'm not here. Before her mother could respond, Bola disappeared from sight. Bola's mother forced a smile as Princess Doyin and her guards approached. Your Highness, to what do we owe this honor? She asked. Please don't kneel, Ma, Princess Doyin replied, looking uncomfortable. She had always seen Bola's mother as a second mother herself. I've come to see Bola. Is she here? She's not in, Bola's mother replied. Oh, Princess Doyin said, disappointed. I haven't seen her in so long. Is everything all right? Bola's mother forced another smile. Yes, everything is fine. She went to visit her suitor, Alade. Oh, okay, Princess Doyin says, a sad look on her face. Since my wedding, she hasn't been to the palace. Please tell her that I miss her, and she is always welcome there. After Princess Doyin leaves, Bola's mom goes to her room. Why don't you want to see Doyin? You girls are childhood friends. I'm just not in the mood for company. Can you leave me alone, please? Bola's mom looks at her daughter, her heart aching, then quietly leaves the room. Bola and Doyin had indeed been childhood friends. They grew up side by side, playing, visiting each other's homes, and gossiping about boys. But as they grew older, things began to change. Doyin blossomed into a stunning beauty, and whenever they went out together, boys would flock to her. If Bola liked someone, it only took one glance at Doyin for him to be captivated by her charm. Resentment grew in Bola's heart. Though she knew it was wrong, she couldn't stop the bitter feelings from creeping in. One fateful day, Doyin burst into Bola's room, excitement lighting up her face. "You won't believe what happened to me today," she exclaimed. "I was at the market when suddenly there was a commotion. The royal trumpet sounded. Prince Tunde was there. Everyone lined up to catch a glimpse as he passed by with his guards. He walked right by me, and I prayed he would look my way. And guess what, Bola? He did." Bola listened in stunned silence. Prince Tunde? She had loved him for as long as she could remember, daydreaming about falling in love and living in the palace by his side. Could he have fallen for Doyin too? "Go on," Bola urged, her heart racing. We locked eyes, and it was like time stopped. Doyin continued, her excitement growing. "When he smiled at me, I thought I would faint. They moved on, and I figured that was the end of it. But a few minutes later, a palace guard came up to me and said, 'Prince Tunde would like the pleasure of my company.'" Doyin paused, noticing Bola's lack of enthusiasm. "Aren't you excited for me?" she asked Bola. Bola forced a smile. "Of course I am happy for you, but you must not get your hopes up. You don't know why he wants to see you." Doyin bit her lip, considering Bola's words. "You're right," she said thoughtfully. "But I'll let you know how it goes. Come with me. Help me pick a dress," she added eagerly. "I wish I could," Bola said, her voice distant, "but I promised my mother I'd help with some errands." After more excited chatter, mostly one-sided, Doyin left to prepare for her date with the prince. And so began the courtship between Doyin and Prince Tunde. The entire town buzzed with the news of their prince courting the daughter of a market woman. A year later, they were married, and their wedding became the talk of the town. Doyin, caught up in her new life, didn't notice Bola's growing jealousy. Bola began avoiding her, and on the day of the wedding, she was so devastated she couldn't eat, drink, or join the celebration. That night, alone in her room, she cried herself to sleep. As time passed, Bola's mother noticed a change in her daughter. Once kind and helpful, Bola had become withdrawn, snapping at the smallest things. She distanced herself from her friends and even avoided her suitor, Alade. Days would pass without her speaking to anyone, locked away in her room, consumed by her misery. Desperate to help her daughter, Bola's mother decided to send her to her great-grandmother, Yeye Alaje, who lived in a village far away. "Yeye Alaje will know what to do," she said, hoping the wise elder could help her troubled daughter. On the first night in Yeye Alaje's hut, Bola explains all to her tearfully. Yeye Alaje tried her best to reason with Bola. "My dear, you are a pretty girl, just as beautiful as Doyin. There's no need for you to envy your friend. You already have a suitor that loves you for you. If you can't help me, then let me leave. I can't bear to live in this world any longer." Bola cried, her words startling Yeye Alaje. Saddened by Bola's words, Yeye Alaje resolved to help great-granddaughter any way she could. Yeye Alaje, you see, is a mystical old woman who had powers beyond human comprehension. She tells Bola, "I will give you a potent potion. Use it just before you sleep. Make sure you sleep with both legs raised against the wall, for you are about to embark on a frightful journey. When you get to your destination, ask whoever you see for your heart's desire without fear. Be bold, be brave. I will not be far from you." That night, Bola drinks the potion and positions herself just like instructed. Soon she falls into a deep sleep and finds her body lifted up into the air and floating, transported into the mystical realm. Bola finds herself in an ancient resting place. Before her was a woman so aged and frail, she looked 1,000 years. The woman spoke, and her voice seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere, all at once. "What do you want, daughter of man? Why are you in a place with the dead?" At first, Bola is too scared to speak. Then she remembers that Yeye Alaje told her to be brave. "I want to be beautiful. I hate the way I look. I want you to change me to look like my friend Doyin." The old woman cackled. "What curious creatures you humans are. You are already so pretty. Stop telling lies. I am hideous. Can you help me or not?" Bola snapped. The old woman smiles. "Okay, daughter of man. There are many beautiful women who departed this earth in their youth. Tall, short, slim, light, dark." She waves her hand, and suddenly there was a mist, and a vile sulfuric smell filled the air. As the mist cleared, several extraordinarily pretty women stood before them. "Choose one amongst the lost beauties." Bola stares at the lost beauties in awe. She turns to the witch. "They are incredibly beautiful. Look at that one's hair and that one's skin, and I didn't even know humans can have eyes the color of indigo. Make up your mind, daughter of man. Choose one. We don't have all day." "I like them all," Bola says, her eyes going from one dead beauty to the next. Can I choose a body part from each of them? The old woman's eyes widened. If you choose a body part from each, your debt is fivefold. Are you sure you can bear the consequences? I don't mind, Bola says, after giving it some thought. Very well, little girl. What do you desire from each? I will have the first one's fair skin, how yellow and smooth it is. The second one's beautiful blue eyes, how exotic are they? The third one's hair, how long and silky they look. The fourth one's face, the nose is so narrow and lips so pouty. And finally, she pauses to stare at the fifth dead beauty. I will have that one's physique. The men will love that. It is done, the ancient one said. You understand the price you have to pay? Bola nodded eagerly. I understand. Do it quickly. Suddenly, a mist rises from beneath the ground, and Bola feels herself getting faint. She slumps to the floor in a heap. Bola wakes up in her room. Slowly, she remembers what had transpired in the ancient resting place. But I don't feel different, she says to herself. A huge wave of disappointment washes over her, which quickly leads to frustration, then rage. She begins pounding the floor with her fist, shaking her head in anger. Then she feels something soft brush her face. Is that hair? She thinks to herself. Heart racing, she rushes to the mirror. She spends an hour looking at herself in disbelief. The person that was in the mirror wasn't Bola. It was a woman of unmatched beauty. Fair, yellow glowing skin, long silky hair that reached the small of her back, eyes the color of indigo, the face of an angel, and a body of such exquisite proportions. She could scarcely believe it was real. The very next day, Bola sneaks out of her Yeye Alaje's house and moves to the nearest town. Quickly, she finds herself being the center of attention from men. Everywhere she went, she had several men trying to talk to her, woo her, profess love, offering gifts and money. Her dreams have come true. She changes her name to Omorewa and accepts all manners of gifts, jewelry, and money from men. Her new look quickly makes her a wealthy woman, and she has several eligible men in town fighting over her. Even though Omorewa had several eligible bachelors pursuing her, she yearned for only one, Prince Tunde. She hatches a cunning plan, packs her bags, and goes back to her hometown, Makoko. It was festival time in Makoko. The festival was named Bere, and Prince Tunde and Princess Doyin were the patrons. The different districts in the village present a young girl dressed in the most flamboyant and colorful outfits, and a winner is picked. There are the yellow, the blue, the green, the red, and the black districts. In all the years the festival had been running, District Black had never won. Omorewa bribed her way into representing the Black District. On the day of the competition, the town is abuzz. Everyone is in the huge village square. Prince Tunde and Princess Doyin are on a small stage with a team of judges. Miss Yellow comes, beautiful as a canary, and the crowd cheers. Miss Blue sashays in, her outfit swirling around her like a sky blue mist. Then Miss Green, and then Miss Red. Nobody can beat Miss Yellow, Prince Tunde whispers to his wife. Doyin smiles. It is red for me. Poor Miss Black, one of the judges says smiling. I guess she will be dead last as usual. They all laugh. The MC announces in a booming voice, Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Black. A hush overcame the crowd as Omorewa walked down the runway. You could have heard a pin drop. Mouths were agape and eyes bulged. Omorewa had never looked so beautiful. It was that day that people knew that black could be elegant and fabulous. She wore a stunning black dress that flowed around her like liquid midnight. The dress was adorned with delicate gold patterns. The plunging neckline and cascading layers added drama. The subtle glints of sequins made her shimmer like the night sky. Each step she took was poetry in motion. She knelt in greeting as she reached the judge's table. Doyin looked at her husband, her face creased in a frown. She is beautiful, Doyin said, eyeing her husband. He was lost in his own world, bewitched by Omorewa. All of a sudden, the crowd erupted in cheers. "We have found the winner!" Someone shouted, and like magic, everyone joined the chant, and it took forever before the MC could control the crowd. Omorewa was crowned Queen of the Bear that night, and it would go down as the best Bere festival ever. "Come and receive your prize." The master of ceremonies beckoned to Omorewa. A big raffia chest is presented to her, and there were oohs and ahs. As it was opened for, it contained riches. Omorewa clears her throat. "Thank you all so much for the love," she says, "but I cannot accept this price." The crowd was stunned into silence. Omorewa looks at the high table. "I am already a wealthy woman. Instead of giving me this, kindly share it equally with everyone here." The crowd cheers loudly. "Beauty and generosity." Someone shouts. Her gaze meets Prince Tunde. "What I would cherish is to spend a day with our patron, our Prince Tunde." Princess Doyin's face was like thunder. How dare she? Prince Tunde got up and regarded Omorewa. Finally, in a deep booming voice, he said, "If that's all you want, then so shall it be. Now let us return to the ceremonies." There was a huge cheer, and the night party began. The next day, Prince Tunde and Omorewa had a picnic in the lush palace gardens. Conversation and palm wine flowed, and the chemistry between them was palpable. Soon, Tunde has eyes only for Omorewa, and after a short time, he proposes. Princess Doyin is heartbroken. Where did this strange, beautiful, exotic woman come from? She asks herself. There was something vaguely familiar about her, yet she was quite sure she had never laid eyes on her. Things only get worse for Doyin. Prince Tunde barely sees her any longer and moves her out of the master bedroom for Omorewa. Being a second wife was not an unusual thing in that age and time, but Prince Tunde's neglect of Doyin was unbecoming. Before the arrival of Omorewa, they had had a good marriage. Her husband was attentive and loving. They had a little princess named Jola, who he doted on, and the marriage had been good. Prince Tunde's behavior towards Princess Doyin worsened as the weeks went by. He would only eat Omorewa's food, only visit Omorewa's bedchamber, and ignored his daughter. A frustrated Doyin confronts her husband. "You have been charmed by that witch. You hardly see me, which is fine, but when was the last time you saw your daughter? This is unacceptable. I do not mind you taking another woman as your wife, but I will not stand for the way you neglect your child." "How dare you talk to me like that?" Prince Tunde says angrily. "Do you forget I am a prince? Oh, because I lowered myself to marry a wretched gutter market girl from a family of paupers like you. You have grown wings and think you can fly?" Doyin is distraught. Tunde had never laid a hand on her before. She lay on the floor crying. "Stop soiling my expensive rug with your tears," he continued raging. "As a matter of fact, leave the palace altogether and go and stay in the servants' quarters. You disgust me." Prince Tunde and Omorewa have a grand wedding. The whole village is in attendance as everyone wants to see the woman that stole their prince's heart. They are all astonished at her beauty and quickly declare her the most beautiful woman in the village. Omorewa is finally happy. She spends her days living a luxurious life with the man of her dreams. With Princess Doyin out of the picture, she quickly becomes pregnant and gives birth to a baby boy named Badewa. Life couldn't be better. Now you would think that she would spare a thought for her old family who were in the very same village. But you would be wrong because Omorewa couldn't bear to think of her old life. She was a princess now, and that was all that mattered. Once in a while, her mind would go to Doyin, but she would give herself a pep talk. All's fair in love and war was her mantra. Besides, happiness was not made just for others. I deserve it too. Everything went well for a few years. Then one fateful night, light-skinned dead beauty appeared to Omorewa in her dreams. The day started with dark clouds gathering in the sky. Then the powerful wind howled and moved objects about here and there, and then rains came, heavy, relentless, and powerful. Omorewa went around that day with a premonition that something was about to happen, but she couldn't have imagined how bad it would be. "Princess Omorewa," light-skinned Lost Beauty said in a mocking tone, "you certainly have done well for yourself. Your husband is quite dashing, and your baby divine, your palace the height of luxury." "What do you want?" Omorewa asked, a sliver of fear running down her spine. "Only what is rightfully mine, or have you so quickly forgotten that we had a deal?" What deal was light-skinned Lost Beauty talking about, you may ask? Cast your minds back to that fateful day at the ancient resting place. Remember that Bola had asked for a body part from the 5 Lost Beauties. This is how the conversation went. "You ask for a lot for a little girl," the old woman in the ancient resting place had said. "There is a price the Lost Beauties want for their body parts." Bola scoffed. "What is it? I will do anything." The ancient woman laughed. "The Lost Beauties will grant your wish." Light-skinned. Lost Beauty will give you a yellow glowing skin. Blue-eyed Lost Beauty will let you have her indigo eyes. Long-haired Lost Beauty will part with her silky, lush hair. Fine face. Lost Beauty will let you have her angelic face. And curvy Lost Beauty will give you her voluptuous body. "There is a price, though," the Ancient One says, her eyes bright with mischief. "The Lost Beauties will only lend you their body parts for 5 years." Bola shrugged. "Is that all?" "That's fine. 5 years is all I need." The old woman stared at Bola. "That's not all, daughter of man. The Lost Beauties yearn to be among the living. Each Lost Beauty wants 5 years of your life for themselves. So, in addition to them getting their body parts back, they will get 5 years of your life on this earth. Think on it carefully. Daughter of man, there is still time to change your mind." Bola hesitated. That was 25 years cut from her life, a heavy price to pay. But then, she could not abide the thought of going back to her old life. Growing up poor and ugly, and being second best to Doyin. Surely, there can be nothing worse than that. "I prefer a short, wonderful life to a long, miserable one," she says. "I agree to your deal." And that is how we find ourselves where we are today, in the middle of a dreadful confrontation between light-skinned Lost Beauty and Omorewa in the mystical realm. Omorewa broke into a cold sweat. "Please, Auntie light-skinned Lost Beauty Ma, have mercy on me. Give me 5 more years. I am newly married and haven't really enjoyed my husband. You have seen my palace. I am a wealthy princess now. I will give you gold, diamonds, glass beads, anything. Please, Ma, give me some more time to enjoy your skin." Light-skinned Lost Beauty laughed. "Gold, you say? Diamonds, you say? Lapis lazuli, you say? Of what use are all those to me? I want to live again, taste food again, feel a man's love again." Her face suddenly turned sinister. "Give me back my skin, else feel my wrath." With that, light-skinned Lost Beauty reached out her hand, and Omorewa screamed. She awoke from her nightmare, heart beating furiously, body drenched in sweat. "It's just a dream," she says to herself in relief, and goes back to bed. Prince Tunde woke up in the morning and stretched. Yawning loudly, he turned to his sleeping wife and did a double take. He shook her awake roughly and barked, "Why are you so dark? Are you ill?" Omorewa stared back at him. "What do you mean dark?" Tunde rubbed his eyes as if he wanted to see clearly and peered at Omorewa, a puzzled look on his face. "I mean dark, like the bottom of a burnt pot. Go to the mirror and see for yourself." Omorewa ran to the mirror, and to her horror, she had lost her fair glowing skin. Crying, she went to Tunde. "I think I am ill. Please call the doctor." The prince did not know what to make of it. Perhaps she was indeed ill, and that had somehow darkened her skin, he concluded. "Okay, Omorewa, I will get the healer to come in later today. We will get to the bottom of this. A month later, blue-eyed lost beauty appears to Omorewa in her dreams. Our beautiful princess, how are you? She sneered. She smiled as she regarded Omorewa's. See how dark you have become. I see light-skinned. Lost beauty has paid you a visit. Anyway, this is no concern of mine. Have you enjoyed my blue eyes? Did you blink seductively when you were snatching the prince from your friend? You don't scare me. Go away. The eyes are mine now, Omorewa said angrily. Blue-eyed lost beauty laughed. I see that, apart from being greedy, you have added thieving and lies to your bad ways. Her face suddenly turned ugly. Give me back my eyes and 5 years of your life. With that, she pounced on Omorewa. They fought a fierce battle, as Omorewa did not want to give up her eyes. The struggle was keenly contested, and both women spat, scratched, and snarled like wild cats. In the end, blue-eyed beauty was too strong for Omorewa. She took what was rightfully hers and vanished just as quickly as she had appeared. The next morning, Prince Tunde rubbed his eyes in disbelief. What happened? Why are your eyes brown? Omorewa rushed to the mirror and started crying. The sickness has come back. Please call the healer. One by one, the lost beauties collected their body parts. Curvy lost beauty came and won a fearsome fight. Fine-faced lost beauty beat Omorewa like a talking drum. Finally, the long-haired lost beauty snatched back her long silky hair like a cheap wig after a brief scuffle. These ghosts didn't come to play. They wanted what was owed to them. One day, Tunde woke up to see Bola and not Omorewa. To add insult to injury, it was a middle-aged Bola, as each lost beauty had collected 5 years from her life. Bola had aged 25 years, almost overnight. Who in Ogun are you? Tunde yelled. It is me, Omorewa. No, it is not. Tunde got out of bed and regarded Bola in horror. Doyin was right, he said. You are a wicked witch that charmed me. To think I gave up Doyin and Yola for an ugly old hag like you. My prince, it is me. It must be the sickness. It took away my fair skin, my blue eyes, my long hair, my pretty face, and my curves. I will get better. I will return to normal. Ha! The witch makes a case for herself. The sickness is the spell you cast that blinded me. To think I sent Doyin out because of an ugly old hag like you. I am closing my eyes and counting to 10. Be gone from the palace before they open, or else. He left the threat hanging. The furious look in Tunde's eyes was enough to warn Bola he meant every word he said. Tearfully, she packed a small bag and fled the palace. If you go to the marketplace around that period, you will find a dirty, miserable woman. She would beg for food from passers-by and eat it right on the floor. Nobody knew where she came from. She spoke to nobody. This, as I'm sure you have guessed, is Bola. It had been a year since Prince Tunde threw her out, and she had fallen on hard times. Sorrow, regret, pain were her daily companions. People would screw up their noses as they passed her. Children would mock and throw stones at her. She endured it all wordlessly because deep in her heart, she knew it was deserved. One day in the market, she overheard 2 women talking. Have you heard that Mr. Bada has passed? The first one said, Oh, the one whose daughter disappeared. What's her name again? Bola is her name. The poor old man never recovered from losing her. He passed from a broken heart. Bola listened in horror. So her father had passed. A tear ran down her hollowed cheeks, and once again she felt shame. Her dad had been a loving, kind soul, and yet this is how she had rewarded him. On the day of the burial, Bola cleaned up as best as she could and headed to her family home. Cautiously, she peeped through the window. The living room was packed with people who were there to pay their last respects. Her mom was sobbing softly. Beside her was a handsome young man. Her heart skipped a beat. It was Alade. She almost lost her nerve and ran away, but she steadied herself. She had to do this. She had to say goodbye to her dear father. Can I help you? Bola turned around to see who spoke. It was a slim, dark-skinned, extremely pretty young girl. Bola froze. She might as well have been looking at a younger version of herself. Do you want to see my mother? The young girl asked, a kind look on her face. Bola had lost her tongue. She could only stare stupidly at her younger sister, Simbo. The girl's face suddenly fell. I know what you are thinking, she said sadly. I am ugly, isn't it? Bola's eyes widened and her mouth opened. She grabbed the girl's slim arms in a vice-like grip. Simbo, listen to me. You are not ugly. You are beautiful. Never, ever say that again. You hear? Never. Ouch, you are hurting me, Simbo said. Bola let go of Simbo, and like a hot iron, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Simbo stared at the strange woman, backing away. Suddenly her eyes narrow. How do you know my name? Do I know you? Suddenly, whether from hunger or emotion, or both, Bola began to see double. She could hear Simbo's voice fade as her world began to dim. A familiar, more sinister voice came through. Princess Omorewa, here you are again, Madam Agent of Chaos. Go away, Bola yelled, looking around her frantically for light-skinned lost beauty. Simbo, who had been watching in growing horror, had seen enough. She turned and fled. See? Even your sister flees from your stench. The voice was that of fine-face lost beauty, a being whose heart was as evil as her face beautiful. Leave me alone. You have your body parts back. Let me be, Bola screamed. A small crowd gathered, but nobody dared approach the strange woman who was ranting and raving to herself. Curvy lost beauty laughed. Princess Omorewa, from the gutter to the palace, back to the gutter, a cautionary tale for the covetous. They all started laughing, a sound so horrible Omorewa screamed. At that point, Alade, who was in the crowd, ran to her, just in time to save her from falling. Is she dead? Simbo asked. Alade shook his head. No, but she has a bad fever. Help me get her up. She needs some rest. She knew my name? Simbo said. Alade looked sharply at Simbo. Aren't you related? I have never met her, Simbo replied. Mother doesn't know her either. Alade looked down at the mysterious woman. There was something familiar about her, yet he did not know her either. Finally, he shrugged and turned to some men in the crowd. Let's get her somewhere comfortable. Bola wakes up to see a smiling Alade sitting next to her. Finally, I hope you are feeling better. What happened? Where am I? Bola asked. You fainted. My name is Alade, and I am a healer. You are at my house. I hope you don't mind, but I did not want to burden the badass. Bola smiled weakly. Thank you. Are you hungry? Alade asked. Bola's stomach rumbled. She was always hungry. Here, I have made some pepper soup. I will leave you to get some rest. The next morning, Alade brought breakfast for Bola. Good to see you are up and about, he said, a broad smile on his face. Thanks to you, Bola said, regarding Alade. He has the most amazing smile, she thought. Thanks so much for everything. I will be on my way later today, Bola said. Alade nodded thoughtfully. I'd like to talk to you before you go, Alade said. On the first night that you were here, you had a bad dream and talked in your sleep. I was worried about your fever, so I stayed up with you. Bola looked up sharply. I am sorry. You said some things in your sleep that got me thinking, Alade said. You kept on apologizing to me, your sister and your mom. You called me Alade. Bola took in a sharp breath. I must have heard your name from somewhere. Alade peered at her, forcing Bola to look away. That's not all, Alade said softly. You said things that only my ex could know. You said, please forgive me, Alade. I long for you to love me again. Call me little squirrel again. Bola could not speak. There was a look of horror on her face. I suddenly got a premonition, Alade continued. I checked your forearm, and there it was, a birthmark in the shape of a squirrel. The reason I gave you the pet name. Bola opened her mouth as if to speak and then closed it again. Bola, I know it is you. Are you going to tell me what this is all about? Where have you been? What happened to you? It was all too much for Bola. She broke down in tears. Oh, Alade, I am so tired of living a lie. I will tell you everything. Bola tells Alade everything. She leaves nothing out, from when she got to Yeye Alaye's house, to the deal with lost beauties, leading to her time as Princess Omorewa, right until when she faints in her father's compound. Well, that's it. Now you know. I'm sure you hate me and want me out of your house. Bola gets up to go, but Alade grabs her arm. And where do you think you are going? I am leaving, Bola says tearfully. I am like a terrible disease that infects all around me. I have hurt the people that loved me the most. My mother, my sister, my father, and you. You are going nowhere, Alade says. I am not like that wicked prince. All these years I thought I had lost you, and now I have you back. You want to leave? I won't allow it. Bola stares at Alade. I am confused. You mean you still want me? Alade suddenly smiles. Of course I want you, my lovely little squirrel. I don't care what you look like. I have been trying to tell you this from when we were young. You are the love of my life. There's no other for me. They hug each other, both crying and laughing all at once. Now get dressed. We must go to your mother's place. Over the next few months, Alade and Bola rekindled their love. Every day, he would prepare a meal and go to the Bada house to give it to Bola. At first, Bola was awkward, worried that Alade would hold a grudge, but he seemed genuine in his feelings. One day, Alade kept looking at her. He stared so much she became uncomfortable. What is it? Why are you staring at me like that? She asked. Nothing. It's just that you look many years younger than when you first came back. You seem to be aging backwards. Maybe the curse has been lifted. Bola rushed to the mirror and her eyes widened. Her dark chocolate skin glistened with health. The light had returned to her eyes, and her hair was full and luxurious. She looked 10 times younger than the woman that had turned up at the badass. The wedding of Alade and Bola was a small family affair. It was a joyous occasion as Bola, Simbo and her mom were reunited as a family. The first few years of their marriage was blissful. Everything was perfect, apart from one thing. She missed her son. Alade had urged her to go see Prince Tunde, but she was still afraid of him, and she wasn't ready to face him. One night, she had a frightful dream. It began pleasantly enough. She could see her son playing happily in his room, but soon she felt an evil presence emanating from nothingness. It was the lost beauties. One after another, the terrible lost beauties appeared and hovered menacingly over her son. There was a spiteful look in their gleaming eyes. Is it time we disposed of this little human? His presence irks me, fine-faced lost beauty said. Yes, I would say it is time. The dreadful little rascal has a strong spirit and will elongate our stay among the living, says light-skinned lost beauty. Long-haired lost beauty shakes her head. It is too soon. A few more weeks, there's no rush. I agree. Blue-eyed lost beauty and curvy-body lost beauty say in unison. It is decided then, wavy-haired lost beauty says. A few weeks and we will come for him. In unison, they all start laughing. Bola wakes up, screaming. What is it? Alade says, jolted from sleep. My goodness, Bola, you are shaking like a leaf. Bola's breath comes in short, hollow gasps. It's my son, Alade, the lost beauties. They want his life. I must go to him. And that, my friends, is the end of part 1. If you enjoyed the story, please like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment if you would like part 2.